A very good morning to all of you. I hope you all are fine and studying nicely. Okay, this is our third session of computer system, and in our previous session we have discussed about so many memories, primary memory, secondary memory, then your system bus, different types of buses, and today we will start with a different topic, that is your microprocessor evolution. Okay, we will be starting with microprocessor evolution. First of all, microprocessor. What is microprocessor? It is nothing but your CPU. Okay, another name of CPU, central processing unit, is your microprocessor. Now, at least you should know that how the technologies are changing. Okay, like it means what? It means what we were having previously, and now what we are using. Okay, because see, as per the time, so many technologies are changed. We know the speed of computer was very less in previous time, and now you see the speed. Okay, we know the accuracy of computer was not that much, how much it is giving now these days. So ultimately, things are changing again and again. And how the things are changing, actually, it is based on the technologies that we are using. So the very first thing is microprocessor evolution. You can see over here one, two, three, four, five categories or five names of microprocessors are given. First is small scale integration. Now see, with the name only you can understand small scale integration means one IC. IC means integrated circuit. Okay, I'm writing here IC. IC stands for integrated circuit. It is nothing but you can say a electronic circuit in which actually semiconductor material is there, and it is a circuit on a single chip. Basically this is what you have to understand, that the information or the programs are written on the single chip basically. Now the very first thing was SSI, small scale integration, developed in 1964. Number of transistors. See, we have already discussed that transistors are also used to store the information. So number of transistors were 1 to 10 only. Okay, then after that, because see, it was very small scale integration, no? So only 1 to 10 only transistors were placed in one chip. Then after that, in 1968, you can say after 4 years, we started using MSI. MSI stands for medium scale integration. Okay, and here you can see the capacity from 10 to 500. You can see the jump basically, that how much number of transistors has been increased over here in the next generation, we can say. Then next is your LSI. LSI stands for large scale integration, developed in 1971, means just after 3 years. And you see the capacity 500 transistors to 20,000 transistors. Okay, so what you have to understand, in a single chip, these many transistors were placed, or this was the capacity of that particular chip. Then we started using VLSI, very large scale integration. That was in 1980, means after 9 years. Okay, 20,000 to, it is 1 lakh. Okay, so you can see the capacity, that now the number of transistors are from 20,000 to 10 lakh. It is not 1 lakh, it is 10 lakh of transistors. Okay, and then next is ULSI, ultra large scale integration, developed in 1984, and now you can see that it is more than 10 lakh. So actually what you have to understand, the capacity of one IC. Okay, with the help of technologies, now you can see that how much circuits or how many transistors we can place in a single circuit. Okay, fine. Then next we have to discuss is the computer system and data. Okay, 3 points are given actually in your book for the same thing. First is data capturing, data storage, and data retrieval. Now see, you have to understand with the names also these following points. Data capturing means inputting data to convert it into digital form so that it is usable to computer. So see, whenever we will be using this term data capturing, it means we are taking input of the data. Okay, we are taking input of the data, we are converting it into digital form so that computer can use it or computer can understand it. This is what called as data capturing. Then second is data storage. With the name also you can understand, means storing the information in any of the storage device or in any of the memory device. Fine. So to store the captured data means your input data. Okay, and it is to be stored in any digital storage device is called as data storage. And then next is data retrieval. See, this is actually very common word. We will be also using when we will be doing Python. Retrieval of information means it is stored somewhere and then from that we are fetching that information or we wanted to get that information. Okay, this is what called as retrieval of the information. It is given here. Retrieval refers to the process of obtaining stored data. See, it was already stored. You wanted to get it from the storage device and making it available to the CPU. I hope this is clear. Okay, now today we will discuss various types of softwares available, and this is the main chart that you have to understand very clearly, that how many types of softwares are available for us. When we talk about software, first of all, what is software? We know it is nothing but the collection of programs which are generally based on a common topic or a common theme basically. Fine. So a software can be broadly divided into two parts. One is system software and second one is your application software. In different books you will find different categories. We have to go according to our book. So according to our book, two categories are given. First is system software and next is your application software. Now what are system softwares? See, with the name only you can understand that it is system software. The meaning of system software is that it is created for the system. Now see, when we talk about system softwares, four categories of system softwares are given. First is operating system, device drivers, language processors and system utilities. We will be discussing all these one by one. Okay, so the very first thing is the system software. Sorry, operating system. Now when we talk about operating system, it is called as the interface between user and hardware. See, if you bring your computer without any software, it will not work for anything because it is not having any software. So the very first software that we install in the system is actually the operating system. Once the operating system is installed in your computer, now it is able to take instructions from the user, and whatever instructions it will take from the user, it will passes to the other hardware device. So therefore it is called as the interface. It is the interface between user and the hardware. Now when we talk about different types of operating system, you must only know the names, that we have so many varieties of operating system. Okay, it completely depend upon your requirement, that where you are actually going to use your system. Okay, on the basis of that it will be decided, means whether you wanted to use it on a network or on a server, something like that. So for different purpose, different operating systems are there. For example, single user operating system, multi-user operating system, time sharing operating system, real-time operating system, multi-processing operating system, distributed operating system. All these are based on the different purpose. So we have to see our purpose, and then on the basis of that we have to decide which type of operating system we want. Okay. Now the next thing is your device drivers. Now next thing is, what are device drivers? See, these are nothing but the programs that stores instruction to drive and use different hardware devices. Now see, for all the different types of hardware devices, computer will be not having all the informations, right? Because so many hardware devices we are having. So for different hardware devices, how it is going to work, their information will be stored in their drivers. So if we are using any other hardware device, we need to install their driver first, then only we can use those hardware. Then next we are having is the language processor. Another name of language processor is translators. Okay, when we talk about language processors, these are nothing but the programs which convert our program into machine understandable form. Okay, our programs are generally called as a source code. and computer understandable program is actually called as the object code. Okay, this is what you should know. So what we write in the programming language is called as the source code, and what computer understand or what machine understand is the object code. Okay, now what are language processors? As I said, these are the translators. So what they do, they convert the source code into machine understandable form. Okay, now the very first type of translator is your assembler. See, when we started using systems, no, when we talk about generation of software, the very first generation of languages, the very first language was your machine language, that is your binary language, which computer understand. Just after that, the next language introduced was the assembly language. So what does assembler do actually? Assembly language computer will not understand. So what does assembler do? It converts your assembly language into object code. And this assembler was actually developed only for the assembly language. Okay, then compiler and interpreter, these two are the translators that we used for different high level languages. For different high level languages, different translators were used, with some compilers, with some interpreter, and now these days there are some languages where both are used. Okay, their advantages were combined and then both are used together. For example, if you use C, C++ language, in which compilers are used, and when we talk about your Python only, in this interpreter is used. Okay, so for different languages, different translators were used. And see, actually you must know the differences between these two, because ultimately you should know that how this translator is working in your language. Fine. So now see, we are taking the example of compiler first. Suppose I have written a code. As I said that what we write is called as a source code. So suppose I have written a 5-line code. I have written one program. So my program will be called as source code. Okay. If I am using compiler, means suppose I am writing program in C or C++, this type of language. So in that particular case, what will happen? My compiler will read the complete program at once. Means all the 5 lines, 10 lines, 100 lines at once. It will search for the errors. Suppose 3 errors were there. So it will show you the list of errors along with the line numbers. So you are supposed to remove the error first. Once the error is removed, then again you have to compile your program. Then it will give you object code permanently. Okay, it will give you the object code of your file permanently. This is what the compiler do, and after that nothing. So this is what you have to understand is the role of the compiler in any of the language. Now suppose same thing now we will discuss for with respect to this interpreter. Now how interpreter work? Fine. So how interpreter works? Suppose I am taking again the same example. This is my 5-line code, and this time I have written suppose in the Python. So how interpreter will work? Interpreter will scan the code line by line. So what it will do? It will check for the first line first, whether it is error free or no. Okay. If it is error free, interpreter will create its object code on temporary base. Okay. Plus, along with this, it will execute also. So we will say this is the additional task given to the interpreter, that it will execute also. Okay, then it will go to the next line. Again it will check for the next line whether this is error free or not. If it is error free, it will create its object code, it will execute this line also. Then it will check for the third line, so and so on. Okay, fourth line, fifth line, sixth line, seventh line. If error is there at seventh line, then and there it will stop. You have to remove the error. Once you will remove the error, the whole process will restart from the beginning. Okay, this is how your interpreter works. Okay, then next we are having is the system utilities. Now see, what are utilities? See, these are, when we talk about utilities, these are those application programs that assist computer by performing housekeeping functions like backing up disk or scanning, cleaning viruses or arranging information, etc. This is what the definition given to you for the utility. Now see, this is what your, when we talk about system utilities, that these all are the utilities given for your system. The very first type of utility given is antivirus software, file management tools, compression tools, disk management tools. Now when we talk about antivirus softwares, very common term we are using these days, to remove viruses from our system we use antivirus software. Okay, there are so many popular softwares, antivirus softwares like Norton, Quick Heal, and so on. Fine, according to your requirement you have to purchase or you have to download the antivirus software. We must have antiviruses in our system. This is important to keep in your mind. Okay, then next we are having is the file management tool. Now see, with the name only we can understand that these are the tools or the softwares used for management of the files. Okay, for example, you wanted to browse something, search something, arrange something, find information, quick preview. For that, file management tools are available. As per your as per your system, generally you are getting Windows Explorer. Okay, in your system only Windows Explorer is there. So it is also used for the file management, and some others are Total Commander, Directory Opus, and Google Desktop. Now it is completely up to you, whether you need then you use, if you don't need then no need to use. Then next is compression tools. Again very common and very useful for these days. See, whenever we wanted to share any information over internet, we want compressed information. Okay, the meaning of compressed information is that if the information is in the compressed format, then the overall size of the file will be reduced. Okay, so it will be easy for you to share that information over internet, means for downloading purpose or for uploading purpose. Okay, so there are so many compression tools available. Some common are WinRAR, 7-zip, pzip, WinZip. We are using all these softwares for the compression purpose. Then next we are having disk management tools. Okay, now when we talk about disk management tools, again with the name you can understand, for managing your disk, means your, for management of your hard disk, we are using disk management tools. Some examples given in your book is, first is disk cleanup tool. With the name only you can understand that it will clean up the what to say, free area from means it clean up the temporary files from your system, or whatever is the unnecessary files which is generally stored by the other softwares or by the websites, or when we install any software and which is of no use for us. So there are so many unwanted files basically, so will be removed by the disk cleanup. Then next is disk defragmenter. What it do, it again is used to maintain your disk. What it will do, simply it will keep your all the used area one side and unused area another side. So ultimately it will help you to speed up your system and for the proper management of your disk. Then next it is given as the backup utility. Now see, what we do with the backup utility, we can take the backup of the particular folder or the drive in our system, and once the backup has been taken and suppose by mistake the system is crashed, so we can restore it from the backup only. I hope this is clear. Okay, then next we are having is the application softwares. Now what you have to understand for the application software, these are those softwares which carry out some specified task basically. Okay, for example, suppose you wanted to use any software for the office, so for that MS Office is there. Okay, so it is not created for the system, it is actually created for the user. So what we can say, application softwares are those softwares which are actually created, or the set of programs which are actually created to carry out some specific task or specified application. Now when we talk about the categories of softwares, there are two categories of software: general purpose and customized software. Now with the name only you can understand, general purpose means it is according to the majority of the people, on the basis of their requirement these softwares are created, are called as general purpose softwares. You cannot do changes in these general purpose softwares generally. Okay, and whereas customized softwares are also known as business software, they are also known as tailor made software. Here we can give our we can give the instructions according to our requirement, and the software will be developed on the basis of our requirement. And here the software is already developed, only we have to understand that how we are going to use it. For example, MS Office, it is already developed. We have to understand how to use it. If I wanted to create a document, I will open MS Word. If I wanted to make a presentation, I will open PowerPoint. Okay, all the general purpose tasks are given over there. You cannot add any tools according to your choice, or you cannot ask Microsoft team to add a toolbar specially for you. No, because it is general purpose. If you want a specific software, then you go for the customized software. Okay, I hope these things are clear to you. Okay, one more thing, remember that customized softwares are generally paid softwares. We have to pay for it to the programmers or to the developers. Okay, we are giving them our instructions, then they will be giving us the time that within this time they will create a code and they will provide to us, and then we have to pay according to the same thing. I hope this is clear to you. Okay, in our next session we will complete our syllabus, and then I will give you the homework part, and you are suggested to read the book up to page number 14. Okay, thank you so much and God bless you.